The theme of my presentation is indeed, are you losing out by ignoring CSR? But there's a twist, and it involves a topic I know you're all dying to hear more about. Are you losing out by ignoring CSR thanks to millennials? Yes, millennials, the most talked about, hashtagging, Instagram posting, me generation. And as a card-carrying millennial, I want to reassure you that everything you've heard is true, obviously. And yet, my fellow entitled dreamers and I are naive enough to think that we can change the world. So Don Quixotic are we in our beliefs that 73% of us think that the companies we work for ought to have a positive impact on society. Well, who cares what these selfie stick inventors think companies ought to do, am I right? Well, except millennials are the largest generation in history, even bigger than the baby boomers, which means that by 2020, millennials will comprise a majority of the workforce. Soon after that, we'll wield the largest buying power in the history of the universe. While we all believe companies should be socially responsible, never before in history has it been fundamentally imperative for companies to be socially responsible in order to survive, let alone thrive. The new majority demands it. So what does this mean for us, the events professionals in the room? Well, as we know, we're often at the forefront of messaging and producing experiential narratives for our clients and companies. Now, with the largest generation ever deciding where to work, or who to buy from, or which brand to offer their consumer loyalty to based on a reputation of social responsibility, now event professionals more than ever before are going to play a real-world business impact in our customers' and clients' success. So how do we take advantage of this? First, let's talk about a little bit about what CSR actually is. There are many definitions of corporate social responsibility, as well as different names like corporate citizenship or corporate philanthropy, but we commonly tend to think of it as companies donating their time, talent, or treasure, also known as money, which usually equates to about 1% of their pre-tax profits. Think of those giant check presentations with the corporation's logo on it. But this type of arm's length philanthropy just isn't gonna cut it anymore. You see, boardrooms across the country are realizing that as more and more millennials enter the workplace, there's no longer the trade-off needed between doing good and doing good business. And more, that's becoming the new definition of CSR, benefiting both business and society. You see, just in order to attract talent and customers, two things I think that we can all agree are essential to business success, companies are going to have to do good. And it's not just about writing checks either. In fact, studies have shown millennials disdain the oversized check photo op because they view them as photo ops. You see, we don't want our companies to merely donate as part of our CSR strategy. That's too one-off, too arm's length. We want our companies to invest. And the brands that appeal to young people as consumers are the same that appeal to them as employers. So much so that in a 2012 study, a majority of young people would be willing to take a 15% pay cut in order to work for a company whose values were in line with their own. Another study showed that 86% would think about leaving a company if they found their CSR values to be lacking. We're a bunch of crazy do-gooders. We're willing to forego money for our values. What are companies to do? Well, some of us in certain sectors are going to have to work harder than others in order to communicate the positive aspects of our brands. Over half of millennials questioned in a particular study said they would actually avoid working in a certain sector because it had a negative image. Oil and gas was seen as the most unappealing globally. And with the web and social media, now we have access to more information than ever before. So it's not hard to research a company and find out if they're actually a purpose-led driven business or not. And if it's not, we may opt out. While we've all seen the fiascos where a brand's perception can go awry in the blink of an eye on social media, we've also seen the incredible power that social media has for good. My grandmother passed away from ALS, and I cannot tell you how much the Ice Bucket Challenge meant to me. As more and more companies embrace a holistic view of CSR, corporations are going to expect more from their event partners, because events are a window into a corporation's heart, and they're a way to tell in a very real way if a company is walking the walk or just talking. And with the prevalence of social media, authenticity is king. Otherwise, the company will be called out as the emperor with no clothes. The event companies that are able to distinguish themselves in this space and help corporations positively tell their story will stand out. We are seeing this already throughout the world. Green events are no longer a fad, they are a necessity. And sustainability is quickly moving front of mind in our industry. And well, it should, because when it comes to sustainability, we have a bit of a bad reputation. An outdated study placed the events and meeting industry as the second most waste-producing industry. Yikes. It is outdated. We've made good strides since then. But we still have a tremendous opportunity for change in front of us. Events have now a greener, more sustainable initiative. My favorite example of a sustainable story is this past year at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. CES has an incredible array of green initiatives as part of their effort to reduce waste for the event and give back to the local community. They partnered with Freeman, the leading provider in trade show management, to produce a donation program after the show so that people who didn't want to bring their stuff or bring their exhibit booths were able to donate it. And the amazing thing is they donated 15 semi-truckloads full of goods to Habitat for Humanity and other local nonprofits. As event professionals, there are so many ways that we can incorporate CSR into our planning and execution strategies. And I'd like to share with you just a few quick tips. First, with the basics. If you're a venue, it might be as simple as making your recycling bins more visible, maybe even color coding them or color coordinating them. The Los Angeles Convention Center has a number of really great green initiatives, including water conservation efforts that include low flush urinals that save 1 million gallons of water per year. Way to help out with the drought, boys. Next, if you have people traveling to your event and are staying in a hotel, set up a donation program for all those little bars of soaps and hygiene products. A nonprofit called Clean the World will help you collect them and distribute them globally, which will help prevent diseases and illnesses in the developing world and will save lives. Additionally, they can help you build a hygiene building kit program for your event attendees, so you can make an impact locally at different homeless shelters. If you have food and beverages for your event, think about setting up a food donation program for the leftovers or composting. And before you say to yourself that you don't want to donate food because of liability issues, let me tell you, there is a national law that protects you if you donate food in good faith. The Bill Emerson Act of 1996 is important because each year 141 billion pounds of food are wasted, while at the same time 49 million Americans, including 12 million children, are at risk of hunger. This law protects everyone in the room, from caterers to nonprofits to independent planners. And the good news is that there are organizations that will do the heavy lifting for you. The nonprofit Rock and Wrap It Up will identify and vet agencies for you that are in a position to recover food and assets. And with their Whole Earth calculator, they're able to calculate, based on how many pounds of food you donate, a USDA meal equivalent. That information can then be sent out as a tweet using your event's hashtag, expanding the knowledge of the donation to your event attendees and anyone who has Twitter and a smartphone. And finally, if you're working on marketing materials or communication materials, the sky is the limit with all the latest and greatest technology and apps. Get rid of printed materials and use an event app, like the one for BizBash today that's so fabulous, so make sure you all download it. I'm sure there are tons of app developers in the room who will be more than happy to assist you. Another option is you could simply reduce the amount of printed materials. If you are a nonprofit, you do not need to print a program for every single attendee of your gala. Try just printing half, or go crazy and turn the whole thing into a digital copy and display it on iPads. It'll help save you money on printing costs and help reduce waste. And now, finally, I know I'm going to be hunted down afterwards for saying this, but do we really need swag bags at every single event? The head of Google's retail team has banned swag at their in-store events. And if you want a handout, you get a digital copy. No paper necessary. Now, I know that these suggestions might not be revolutionary in nature, and your company may already have a CSR program in place. If you do, I commend you. But even for those who do, and for those who don't, I challenge you to look at today as an opportunity. Don't let institutionalized calcification, known as "this is the way we've always done it," get in your way. Rethink can be the most powerful word in the English language. And the good news is you do not need to reinvent the wheel. Just tap into the knowledge of our industry through social media, professional organizations, or even BizBash. The important thing to remember through all of this is that small changes can make a big impact. I leave you with a story of a woman whom I greatly admire. Her name is Gwen Wilson, and she is the PR director at the Orange County Convention Center in Florida. She saw that there was a lot of waste that was being produced by conventions, and she decided to do something about it. She went beyond her job description and personally developed numerous local nonprofit relationships in order to help the convention center expand its donation program. And in 2014, the convention center donated roughly $2.2 million in products locally. Gwen showed that one person can make a difference. Some people may ask, where do I start? And my response is just start. Let's have progress and not wait on perfection. And I know that I'm saying this to a room full of type A perfectionists. The sustainable solution can be right for you, your company's bottom line, and the planet. We all have the power to change our world for the better. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Thank you.